Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm Paul Broniker, Senior Vice President of Policy Strategy and Regulatory Affairs at Atlanta Housing. I can't thank you enough for joining us tonight for us to have the opportunity to show you all of the great things we have planned for this upcoming year. I'm wearing a tie for the first time in 350 days, and I'm in a sequestered location so my feral children cannot disrupt this presentation, and I am really excited to show off the hard work of this team. Before I introduce our CEO and leader, I just want to take a quick moment to thank the hard work of some very talented people who have put a lot of time into what you're about to view tonight. Vincent Taylor, Elaine Mobley, Elizabeth Jackson, Ovanda Mortimer. There are a lot of people that make this process work, and I can't thank you enough. It's a great presentation and it's a great plan, and so thank you for all of everything you've done to make this happen. I would now like to take the opportunity and the privilege to introduce you to our CEO, Eugene Jones. He's been here for over a year and almost a year and a half actually now, and we've seen a great transformation of this agency under his leadership, and we're all very excited about the direction we're headed. Mr. Jones?
Gene, you're muted.
Good evening, everyone.
Start. All right.
It's so exciting to be here. I appreciate everything that my staff has done. I want to piggyback on what Paul has stated. This is a team effort, and this team has done a wonderful job putting together this MTW annual plan for fiscal year 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, remember, this is only a plan. This is our guidance for what we're going to do, what we're going to provide for our citizens of Atlanta. The process is that we submit it to you, we get your comments and so forth, we put it together, we bless it with ourselves, and then we have to present it to our board of directors. They also have to agree with our plan and our action plan and so forth. But the last step is the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. They have to approve our overall MTW annual plan. We are excited. We have never had an issue with HUD not approving our MTW plan. This is going to be a great plan, especially because of the pandemic and what we've been going through, what we've been faced. And so I take my hat off to my staff, my wonderful team. And I appreciate what we put together, and something that I'm very proud to present to the public here in Atlanta. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gene, and thank you on behalf of staff for the opportunity to serve. I think it is truly a privilege to be able to work and provide this service to the community the way that we're able to. Vincent, could you please advance to the next slide? For anybody that has not attended this briefing before, what we are covering tonight, as Gene alluded to, is our plans for this upcoming fiscal year, which would be the 2022 fiscal year, and it starts on July 1. This is a document that we prepare each year for HUD that outlines our goals and our strategies for, one, providing affordable housing, of course, but really for improving the lives of a large swath of the population of the city of Atlanta and its surroundings. We have certain flexibilities under our relationship with HUD called the Moving to Work demonstration program, and that allows us to design local solutions to local challenges. And this is part of the process that allows us to design those solutions. In this presentation, we'll be covering some of the work we'll be doing in terms of building affordable housing, preserving affordable housing, and providing services to allow our residents to thrive. We've identified some of the challenges that we'll be facing this upcoming year. They are similar to the challenges that we have faced for the last few years, and in many ways, they're going to be bigger challenges than they've ever been. Construction prices have increased. Employment is down. Many of our participants and our residents have been the most strongly affected by the market downturn and joblessness over the past several months. And so we need to be intentional and strategic in how we approach these challenges. As always, we can't do it on ourselves. We can't do it on our own. And so we look to leverage some of these great relationships we have with our federal partners, our local government partners, and with the public itself. And we're looking forward to the opportunity to serve. Next slide. As a reminder for who we serve, 95% of our families are classified under HUD guidelines as very low income or extremely low income. And I know that we can get a little bit wonky and technical when we talk about these sort of definitions. So what this really means is that for a very low income family, a family of 4 that earns less than $41,350 a year, and a family of 1 that would be $26,200 a year. And for extremely low income, that's $26,200. And to give you a visualization, that's essentially more than part-time, close to full-time minimum wage worker in the city of Atlanta would qualify as extremely low income. Next slide, please. So this will cover, and we'll get into the details of this. I just want to give you an overview of what we have planned for this upcoming year. We want to create or preserve 2,500 affordable housing units. The creation would come through a combination of new homeplex agreements. Those are agreements with private landlords to provide affordable housing, and Atlanta Housing would provide the subsidy to make those units affordable. New voucher assistance, which means that we would be taking people off of the housing choice wait list or other wait lists and making sure that those vouchers get utilized in the Atlanta market. And down payment assistance, DPA stands for Down Payment Assistance Awards, which is a program that we have that allows us to provide down payment assistance to families that don't otherwise have the means of providing down payment and enjoying the American dream of homeownership. Preserving affordable housing usually comes through either rehabilitating existing affordable housing developments, modernizing them, renewing agreements that may be about to expire, and converting non-affordable housing to affordable housing. I should have said earlier that as part of this process, we welcome your comments and questions on this plan. Given the number of people involved, we will be holding those questions until the end. We will be taking note of those questions, and we will be addressing those questions with what we submit to HUD. And we are very grateful that you have taken the time to sit with us tonight and hear about these plans and offer your feedback for how we might approach the challenges that we face in the city. We also are looking to maintain an 84% voucher utilization rate. We have, over the past couple of years, moved this number higher and higher, and I believe at the moment we are, in fact, a little higher than this number. But what this means is this is a reflection of the total number of vouchers we're authorized to issue and make sure that they are in service and supporting the families that they're intended to serve. Next slide, please. You saw from the previous slide that we had a big number in terms of new units or preserved units, and that this will ultimately mean that we are adding 600 new households to the Atlanta housing roster. Well, why doesn't that mean 2,500 new households? And part of the reason for that is that, as was explained on the previous slide, vouchers are a snapshot in time. We can issue vouchers, and every day certain vouchers will come off the program. They'll either leave the jurisdiction to a neighboring county, whether you want to call it Clayton County, Henry County, DeKalb County, wherever that is. It's a constant battle of keeping our vouchers within our jurisdiction and being able to find units for the people that we support. And so if you combine the new units we're creating with the units with the families really that are either going to other jurisdictions or are coming off the program, we're looking to increase our households served by 600. Next slide, please. We are looking to achieve a 75% work compliance rate. This was our goal last year, meaning our current fiscal year, and it was the year before that. We've come close the past 2 years, and I think that we would have come close this year, but as I mentioned previously, the economic downturn that accompanied the COVID-19 pandemic has really disproportionately affected our families. And I'm very relieved and happy that it hasn't affected them to a greater degree. And but I do think for the upcoming year, based on what we're seeing, that a 75% rate is achievable. And so I'm very optimistic about the future for our families. And lastly, we're looking to achieve a 35% Section 3 compliance rate. Again, this is very technical stuff, and I will try to make it as non-technical as possible. The Section 3 rule of HUD requires that a certain percentage of the contracts Atlanta Housing awards go to low-income families or businesses or public housing families or businesses. And there are new rules around this at HUD that require certain percentages. 35% is 15% higher than the new HUD rule. So we are ambitious, but we have a very good staff that monitors this and attempts to make sure that our families have the opportunities to pursue those awards. And so we are, again, we're ambitious in this goal, and I believe that we're on track to achieve that for this upcoming fiscal year. Next slide, please. I mentioned earlier that our moving to work designation allows us to design certain local solutions to local challenges. Some of these activities that we are looking to administer in the upcoming year, again, these are technical programs. If you have questions at the end, we're happy to walk through them. I'll do my best to walk through them in plain English. And these will be treated, we'll delve into them a little bit as we go further into this presentation. But for example, the earned income disregard, which really just means that certain families in our senior population are able to get part-time work or a little extra income through work, and it doesn't count against their qualification for our subsidy. We don't want to penalize our seniors who are going out and trying to make a little extra income. That's basically the gist of that rule. Gap financing programs that we'll get into, it just recognizes that it's very difficult to finance affordable housing in a market like Atlanta, where construction costs are high, there are parking requirements, there are certain types of construction that need to be done to make a development dense. And given those challenges, we need some flexibility to be able to finance those deals properly. And then another one that we'll get into in a little more detail is modifying our inspection schedule for our housing choice voucher and home flex programs. I think that I've talked about some of these a little bit already, and I know that we'll get into a little more detail as we advance through this presentation. But some of those ones that I just talked about with the construction costs and will be dealt with. And then in terms of eliminating or reducing interim certifications, we'll also deal with in our section on housing choice vouchers. And Ernestine Gary will talk a little bit about down payment assistance within choice neighborhoods. We're also exploring other opportunities to assist our families. This past year has proven that internet connectivity and devices are essential really for children in education and for many families to be able to support themselves through work. Remote work and education are essential. The current guidelines we have from HUD don't necessarily allow us to support families in that way. So we are looking at designing solutions that would allow us to do that. We're also looking to address long-term homelessness and potentially assist with single-family home construction. Next slide, please.
This is the slide.
I'm now going to introduce you to Ken Clark, who will run you through the section on our property management division.
Yes, good evening, everyone. I'm Ken Clark, Deputy Chief Real Estate Officer for Operations. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about our asset and property management function. We have approximately 115 properties in our asset management portfolio. About 50% of those properties are properties where we provide rental assistance only. The other 50% are properties that we have some form of ownership or investment in. We really want to make sure that the properties function well financially, but then also that they provide a quality living experience for the residents there. So our property operations oversight team works closely with the property management companies to do oversight reviews to ensure those outcomes. These are some of the activities that we work with as we look at ensuring those quality living environments. Next slide, please. As Paul mentioned earlier, we have a home flex program, which is essentially a property-based rental assistance program. The Haven component of that is a program that offers a supportive services component as well. You saw earlier the projection for FY22 is 145 units, and this is a look at those units. And so this is an opportunity for housing opportunities in areas where residents might not ordinarily get an opportunity to reside. Next slide, please. Planned home flex lease ups. So we work hard to recruit and retain property owners for the rental assistance program. It is important that agreements are extended so that we can preserve the affordability at the properties. So in FY22, we're projecting 24 units that will result from home flex lease ups. Next slide, please. So in terms of the home flex renewal agreements, these are the standard home flex renewal agreements. So we're projecting 932 of those in FY22. And this is a list of those individual properties. Next slide, please. We work to try to recapitalize or renovate properties as necessary as they begin to age. So we will look at opportunities to do that within several of the low-income housing tax credit or mixed communities. But we also have 9 age-owned communities that we're continuing to evaluate in terms of the need to reposition or renovate them. One of the areas where we will look to do that, or a tool we use, is HUD's Rental Assistance Demonstration Program, which essentially allows us to convert the subsidy from a Section 9 ACC platform to a Section 8 PBV RAD platform. So the 2 communities that we're looking at repositioning in 22 would be Cosby Spear High Rise, 282 units at that facility, and then East Lake High Rise, 149 units in that community. We also plan to submit a RAD application for the Westminster community, as well as looking at the utilization of other RAD tools. For example, the RAD Section 18 blend, which gives us a little bit more flexibility with regard to the rents and the RAD conversion. Next slide, please. And with that, I will turn it over to Ernestine Gary to talk about the Choice Neighborhoods program.
So good evening, everyone. I'm Ernestine Gary, Senior Vice President for Choice Neighborhoods, and always excited to tell you what's going on with Choice Neighborhoods and what we are planning for the upcoming fiscal year. This is a $30 million grant that Atlanta Housing received from HUD in 2015 to redevelop the former University Homes public housing site in Southwest Atlanta, and also to revitalize the adjoining neighborhoods. So it's focused on 3 neighborhoods: Ashview Heights, the Atlanta University Center, and Vine City. And we do this work not just with the Atlanta Housing team, but also with several key partners throughout the city. Leading us on the housing side is Integral Development. They are developing all of the housing on site. The City of Atlanta is a co-applicant for the Choice Neighborhoods grant with us, and they really help us on the implementation side. Invest Atlanta, the city's economic development arm, is our neighborhood lead, and they're focused on owner-occupied rehab and acquisition. The Morehouse School of Medicine is our health lead, really focused on advancing health initiatives, making sure our residents have health insurance and access to health care. United Way is our education lead, and they're focused on making sure that our students are finishing high school and exploring opportunities for career advancement post-high school. And the Urban League of Greater Atlanta is focused on our workforce training, making sure that we're offering training opportunities to our residents and families. Next slide. This grant has a 7-year cycle, and we are in year 5 of that 7-year cycle. For the year 2022, which begins July 1 of this year, our plans are to lease up 72 units at what we're calling Ashley 1C on Vine Street, just 1 block up from the core development. Of the 72 units, 50 of those will be affordable for a 69% overall affordability. We're also planning to close and begin construction on the final 212 units, what we're calling Ashley 2 at Scholars Landing. Of those 212 units, 114 of those will be affordable. And we also are providing homeownership opportunities on site because we know that there will be residents that will be ready for the homeownership phase. So right now we've got 33 for sale townhomes planned. 20% of whatever we build on the homeownership site will be affordable. The other new program for 2022 is our Choice Neighborhoods Down Payment Assistance Program. So we're realizing how difficult it is for some of our residents who are income constrained to experience homeownership. So we're going to be offering down payment assistance for those families who are within 115% of the area median income or less. And just to put that in perspective, a family of one making $66,000 or less would be eligible for up to $60,000 in down payment and closing cost assistance. This would be in the form of a deferred loan, and it would burn off over time. So if it's a 10-year loan, it would burn off, say, 10% each year. These down payment funds would be available within the Choice footprint. Next slide. On the people side, I talked about health and education and workforce earlier. So we are going to continue our people activities in the Choice footprint. And on the neighborhood side, we have an owner-occupied rehab program which provides up to $70,000 as a deferred loan, again, for home repairs and facade improvements. This is primarily in the Asheville Heights and the Atlanta University Center neighborhoods. We plan to assist at least 6 legacy homeowners during the next fiscal year. And we also focus on acquiring blighted and deteriorated properties just so we can help to stabilize the neighborhood and avoid gentrification. So we will continue that acquisition program in Asheville Heights. And the last thing I'll mention on this slide is Roosevelt Hall. So the picture that you see is the community center that was built as part of University Homes in 1936. It is the only remaining structure from the former public housing site. We are going to be expending about $10 million to renovate this building and make it a community hub for the residents at Scholars Landing. It will house a community center, we'll have a library inside. We're going to create a history wall to tell the history of the neighborhood and of the University Homes development. And we will also have a business center inside and a little bit of retail space on the front. On the second floor, the Choice Neighborhoods team will occupy offices so that they can continue the delivery of services to the residents. And the Atlanta University Center Consortium will also occupy some space on the second floor because we do want to connect our residents to the Atlanta University Center institutions just to promote collaboration and sharing of ideas. Next slide. Ongoing activities that we will continue. I've talked about most of them, but continuing to advance the transformation plans so that we can close out the grant really strong in 2022. On the people side, we're going to be designing an incentive program that promotes a culture of work. We're going to increase internet access opportunities through Connect Home and continue our supportive services, lifelong learning at Roosevelt Hall, and community engagement programming. And then on the neighborhood side, continue to promote residential and commercial growth through the work of our partners. One thing I just might mention here is that the $30 million is being combined with over $400 million in either in-kind services or other commitments that are being made by our Choice partners. And we have about 25 partner organizations that work with us on the Choice Neighborhood Initiative. So we're expecting that at the end of 2022, we will have a really exciting and transformative neighborhood for residents to appreciate and enjoy. And that's it for Choice Neighborhoods. Next slide. So now I'll introduce Tracy Jones, our Senior Vice President for Housing Choice.
Thank you, Ernestine. Good evening. As Ernestine said, I am Tracy Jones, the Senior Vice President of the Housing Choice Voucher Program for Atlanta Housing. And our objectives in 2022 and our goals are to continue to monitor and administer 20,000 vouchers under our conventional and alternative rental assistance guidelines. 52% of our vouchers fall under our Section 8 program, which is about 11,000 families in total. Most of those families live within the city of Atlanta, and a small portion of them have ported out into other jurisdictions within surrounding counties. But we do manage those families as well outside of our city. 11% of those families that fall under the 20,000 vouchers are administered through our AHMTW designation. And we also support and help our local housing with challenges they may experience, such as our tenant-based haven program. Here we help our veterans and our families who are at risk or currently are homeless. We create local programs to address those challenges within housing our families within the city. And 30% of those vouchers are under our project-based voucher program and our Home Flex program. Next slide. The effort to continue to house families and meet our household served numbers, the Housing Choice Voucher Program goal is to lease up 234 new vouchers on our tenant-based voucher program. And in order for us to achieve those stabilized numbers, we basically lease up 1,100 families. We issue vouchers to over 2,000 families, and of those 2,000 families that the vouchers are issued, approximately 1,100 of them are housed. We do have an attrition of 840, which will bring us to the 234 new families that we anticipate bringing on to the program this year in 2022. While we were working through establishing goals to reduce some of the duplicative work that impacts the tenant-based program, we looked at eliminating or reducing our interim process. The interim recertification is a recertification when someone has reported income to us in 90 days, either before the certification date of their annual recertification or 90 days after they request the interim recertification. This is duplicative work for the team, and what we have decided that we will, once the effects of the pandemic slows down, we will look at implementing that program. We will absolutely allow families who are in hardship to request interims, but in order to make sure we're stabilizing the work and the resources that we have within the agency, we're looking to slow down that interim process. Next slide. As Paul spoke about, and as well as Ken Clark, they spoke about our RAD program. Currently, the tenant-based housing choice voucher program has 23,000 families on our waiting list, but we also manage another waiting list, which we call our choice mobility waiting list. And these are families who have been resided on what we call our RAD properties for over 12 months. And once they have remained in their unit for 12 months, they can at that time request to have a tenant-based voucher. As most of you may know, our tenant-based vouchers are portable, so these families can request a voucher, and they will go on our choice mobility waiting list. And when we have available units and available vouchers, we issue those vouchers, and we then proceed to assist those families with finding housing within our jurisdiction or outside of our jurisdiction. They do have that choice. Next slide. Our inspection team, this is a very innovative team. We are always looking to improve our processes and ensuring that our families live in safe, sanitary housing. And on an annual basis, we look at about 9,000 HQS inspections. This excludes our quality control inspections, our special inspections, our emergency inspections. If we combine all those inspections in total, this team does about 25,000 inspections annually. And currently we are processing those inspections through our virtual inspection process. And we will continue that process until it's appropriate to resume face-to-face inspections. This team also works closely with our landlord advisory group. And our landlord advisory group really provides us information to help us recruit and retain our landlords. We have developed several new programs as a result of the feedback we received through the landlord advisory group. So we work very closely with them. But one thing we have come up with based on the number of inspections that we do annually, and we expect those numbers to increase as our partner in the real estate group continues to convert RAD communities and bring on new home flex units, is that that inspection number will continue to increase. So to work through that number of inspections that we anticipate coming on board, we have established a biannual inspection process schedule. And here we will not only continue to inspect our housing choice vouchers, we will also include our home flex units in those units. The team is well underway with this process, and we are looking to roll the plan out in March with a pilot group, and we're expected for this to be a very great program. We have shared it with our inspectors and our landlords this week in one of our meetings, and they were very excited. So we're looking forward to rolling this program out to the whole agency and all of the properties that fall under the AJ umbrella. So with that, I will turn it over to Tricia O'Connor, our Deputy Director of Real Estate.
Trish, you're on mute.
I apologize. Good evening. Tricia O'Connell, Deputy Chief Real Estate Officer for Real Estate Planning and Development. And I am delighted to be here to share with you the work that we are doing. We get up every day to address the affordable housing crisis in a number of different ways, and I'm going to be sharing that with you. We work with innovative partners to create innovative solutions. So we're looking to develop affordable housing in healthy communities. That's predominantly on our AH-owned land. As part of that, we manage the end-to-end process. And I want to share that with you because it does take a minute to do development. You know, you're looking at anywhere between 28 and 36 months usually. So even though you may not see it immediately coming out of the ground, know that we are working very hard on all of the pre-development activities throughout this process to get affordable housing built in the city of Atlanta. We are additionally working on a co-development program. This is utilizing funds that the Board of Commissioners, the Atlanta Housing Board of Commissioners, provided to us, $60 million to partner with Invest Atlanta to provide the gap financing that Paul talked about earlier that is so necessary for our development partners to be able to continue their process. This has been very critical during the COVID period when there have been some slowdowns in investments from other sources, and we've been able to help fill that gap. We also work with developers who may not be receiving funding from Invest Atlanta as part of the co-development. We look to do acquisitions. That's another way to provide affordable housing. We can look for naturally occurring properties that are perhaps about to go market rate or vacant land where future housing can be developed. And this is important because it provides yet another avenue for the Atlanta Housing Authority to provide affordable housing. And then we're also looking to establish a self-development plan for the agency that will help us accelerate the program. And that could involve small houses, single family homes. You know, this does not mean that we are not going to continue working with our private sector partners. There is room for all of this to happen. Next slide, please. Now, I talked a little bit about this, but just want to share with you the portfolio approach we take because we're working on over 30 projects across our real estate development portfolio. We organize them around the various geographic sectors, and that's helpful for looking at NPUs and various partnerships with neighborhoods and people who are working in those locations. And you can see before you those quadrants. We also focus on the land acquisitions, as I mentioned earlier. And this could be achieved through purchases, donations, or land swaps, but basically would increase the supply of affordable housing. And then lastly, one of our key initiatives this year is going to be based on a $450,000 award we received from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development to do a choice neighborhood planning grant for Bowen Homes to really create a community-driven plan for that 74-acre site. We will be building on the wonderful work that Ernestine talked about with the Choice Neighborhood Implementation Program at the former University Homes, now known as Scholars Landing, and looking for strategies around housing, the former housing on the site, and creating a site plan that accommodates a mix of uses as well as affordable housing. We'll be looking at the surrounding neighborhood of Cary Park and Donald Lee Hollowell Parkway to initiate new residential development and economic development. And then we'll be looking at strategies to help families not only who return to the Bowen Home site, but in the surrounding community, be able to remain in the community, to bring services to that community, and to help people become self-sufficient and within that neighborhood. Next slide, please. And so with MTW, as Paul has talked about, we have a lot of flexibility that other housing authorities don't. And part of that allows us to design key programs within certain HUD regulatory requirements that would allow us to do our work more efficiently and effectively. And since one of our goals is to really be able to support developers and increase the supply of affordable housing, we wanted to focus on the cost limits that are actually set by HUD and establish our own. Those limits are based on national numbers, and we wanted to bring it more to the local level, and we wanted to be able to accommodate different types of development that those limitations don't really take into account for. So they don't really consider high-rise construction where you may be able to achieve more density. For example, on the old Palmer site, which is a 1-acre site, but would probably, when redeveloped, would have, maybe a 13-story building. We want to make sure that the cost schedule for that is reflective of that type of construction. We want to be able to do structured parking. All of these talk about more urban types of development, which have higher costs of development. But, to accommodate greater affordable housing, to create more density on our sites, we really need some to design a new cost system. Next slide, please. So, and I would be, we're very excited about working cross-functionally across the agency to develop the self-development plan. This plan, which we have implemented on some of the land redevelopment on a couple of our sites, allows the housing authority to just take a more, to better manage the development of the land, working with the private sector in some cases, and in other cases we could actually advance a development program, more of a turnkey operation, where we would coordinate with contractors to implement our work. We're also going to, this is another cross-functional initiative, we call it AH Green Initiative. It's about self-sustainability, environmental, just making sure that we are being environmentally responsible, both in our site development and our new construction, and we're going to advance that over the next year. Next slide, please. And so a few of the more particular activities that we're looking at, and what you see in the slide on your left is some of the co-development programs that we are partnering with other agencies and developers to advance. And so with these, we'll be looking at not only those 3 new projects, but because this is gap financing for developers who are more shovel ready, we could anticipate that additional projects may come through the pipeline. We will partner with Ernestine on getting her last 2 rental phases under construction. And we will continue to work on some projects that we began the planning on last year, moving them into the actual closing phases. And those include some additional co-investment programs, as well as our Inglewood and Herndon sites. We will, building on RFPs that we will issue in this fiscal year, both for a North Avenue property we have adjacent to Cosby Spear, as well as the Palmer site I talked before. We'll be looking to enhance development on the west side, including our Hollywood site and a property we own named called Johnson Road, which is near the wonderful City of Atlanta 300-acre West Side Park. We will continue building out the transformation plan for Bowen using the Choice Neighborhood Implementation Grant with the eye towards procuring a developer in this fiscal year to look at doing development in the following year. And then we will continue our work on the Civic Center, which has the opportunity to be both a national model for transformation and equitable development in a neighborhood that is undergoing immense market pressures and is almost by the day getting less and less affordable to families. And so the Civic Center will offer an opportunity to combine a mix of uses, which could be health, education, performing arts center, with affordable housing and economic development. And then we will continue working with HUD on having an agency-wide homeownership plan so that we're really looking at that continuum of housing for families, moving all the way up the rental spectrum, to being able to purchase for sale housing. Next slide, please. And, HUD likes to know what we are forecasting in terms of disposition and demolition. And now for HUD, disposition is not, as we often think about it ourselves, you're just selling it. It could be a ground lease, a long-term ground lease, anything over a year. Typically on all of our rental transactions, that's exactly what we do. We keep control of the land. That keeps it perpetually affordable. We partner with a development partner who will own and operate the structure, creating great efficiencies and leveraging capital on the affordable housing. So what you see on the left is a list of various properties that will be disposed of to different entities through various models of either sale, lease, or land swap. We have one demolition planned, which is a Johnson Road facility, and then we have some other opportunities on some of our old Hope 6 sites. Next slide. I think this may be it. And with that, I will turn it over to Mike Wilson, Senior Vice President for Transaction Management and Capital Markets.
Thank you, Trish. Good evening, everyone. As she said, I'm Mike Wilson. I'm Senior Vice President of Transaction Management and Capital Markets. I want to talk a little bit about my group's goals for 2022. Our primary goals and objectives include underwriting and managing AHA's rental real estate transactions. Those transactions may include new construction, substantial rehabilitation, or similar activity. Second would be projecting capital needs for AHA-owned communities and identifying new capital sources. Third would be administering AHA's highly popular, highly successful homeownership program. The fourth would be securing, sponsoring, and support funding tools to ensure unit affordability. And those funding tools may include low-income housing tax credit funds, municipal bonds, private mortgage financing, and the like. Next slide, please. So in terms of specific goals, our goal is to underwrite and manage the transactions related to AHA's effort to recapitalize 2 public housing communities, which are total of 431 units. Ken Clark mentioned the East Lake High Rise and Cosby Spear, which are those 2. Now, those transactions may include substantial rehabilitation or significant modernization to meet RAD requirements. Second goal for you would be to identify capital needs for remaining AH-owned rental communities. The third will be to underwrite and manage AH's role in renewing 13 mixed income agreements, and that totals 932 units. Next slide, please. Continuing with our goals, researching efforts that will increase home ownership and propose solutions that will improve housing affordability in accordance with intergovernmental agreements and agency direction. Identifying new capital sources to support future development and redevelopment projects. And some of those future transactions may conclude new construction of some public housing units under what HUD calls the fair clause limit. Next slide, please. Mention home ownership. Our goal is to award 225 eligible first-time home buyers to help them purchase their home through our down payment assistance program to help increase housing choices. Now, when we started this program, we used to focus on the areas around our Hope 6 sites. Over the years, we decided to expand our assistance to include the whole city of Atlanta. We give a priority and a higher level of assistance to families that either currently or formerly assisted by AH rental assistance programs, or persons that might be involved in the education, public safety, or healthcare fields. AH's DPA awards, or deep down payment assistance, can be combined with other DPA awards to maximize affordability in purchasing a home within AH's service jurisdiction. And I think this may be my last slide, but let's go to the next one. Okay, I guess we're going back to Paul to pick up from here. Paul, you there? Paul?
You're on mute, Paul.
Sorry, guys. I was double muted. I apologize. I was. Anyway, thank you, Mike, for going through that, and thank you, everyone else. What we've just covered really is the core of what HUD focuses on in terms of our activities for the upcoming year. But I do want to get into a little bit of some of the other aspects of what we do, because it's both important to us. I think it's important to the community, and we want to share with you some of the good work that we're covering. Over the past year, as you can imagine, particularly with our senior high-rises and elsewhere, we've had enormous concerns for the safety and health of our seniors. The team has done a tremendous job of improving those environments, making them safer and more secure from the pandemic that we've seen. We're really strengthening the opportunities for MBE, DBE, minority business enterprises, and Section 3 to ensure that the way we award our contracts and the way we spend our dollars are distributed equitably and lift up people in the communities that we're serving. We are looking to promote agency sustainability with monitoring and tracking COVID-related expenditures, and also tracking some of the waivers we received from HUD over this past year as part of the CARES Act.
You're on mute, Paul.
Was Dr. Grant still available?
He did say he had to leave at 7.
Yeah, he did.
No problem. So we're looking to implement HUD's Envision program. This is an opportunity to provide a single source contact for a variety of different services, from education to job training to job opportunities within the community. I believe it's in NPU U and T, right on the border of the Choice neighborhoods boundaries. And so this will leverage some of the work that we've already done with our Choice Neighborhoods grant. I should also mention that we have more than 300 employees at Atlanta Housing who are committed and passionate about the work that we do. And in addition to the things we do during business hours, we also like to volunteer and serve the community in a robust way. And over the years, we've each year, I should say, we have hundreds of employees who participate and who spend hundreds or thousands of hours. If Dr. Grant were here, he could give me the actual numbers, but thousands of hours, I think, is a safe estimate for the amount of time that we have spent volunteering in the community with our employees. And then we're also looking at ways that we can become more sustainable. And that's not sustainability for the sake of sustainability. What that means is that we want to lower the cost of living for our residents in terms of energy efficiencies, to lower their power bills, their heating bills, things of that nature. And then it's also good business for us. It lowers our overall cost too. And so we have a couple of ideas in mind for how we might advance that. Next slide, please. And then Trish had mentioned the planning grant for Bowen Homes that the agency was awarded this past fall. We are looking at potentially seeking another planning grant for Thomasville Heights, and maybe not this year, but in the near future, using the work that we are doing on the Bowen Homes planning grant to potentially seek an implementation grant from the Choice Neighborhoods office. And then we're looking at using our the number of units that are available to us under our annual contributions contract to increase the total number of households served, essentially using this as a subsidy source to expand our new housing development. And lastly, we are looking at partnerships and ventures that may allow us to provide commercial real estate opportunities. And what this means is we've been in the mixed income housing business for a long time. We want to be also mixed use, and that's primarily because it's a good amenity for our families. In a mixed use community, you have access to medical care, you have access to groceries potentially, you have access to dry cleaners, little things that make the lives of our residents easier. And there needs to be a certain opportunity for retail in order to make those things possible. And I believe we're about to close out here. We are in our public comment period. I want to again thank everybody for participating. I think that this has been one of the highest rates of participation we've had in several years. So there's certainly something to this new format digitally. I think you can pretty much guarantee that we will do this again next year, given that it's allowed us to really reach many people that we wouldn't have otherwise been able to reach. And so here is some contact information that you can submit comments. We will also take questions now. It's going to be a little tricky. This is our first time doing this in this format. So for those of you, I want to start with people who are able to use the Zoom functions first. I know that there are people on the phone as well. But if you're in Zoom and you could first raise your hand, then we can hopefully go through that list first for anybody who has any questions or comments on this process. Let's see here. Vince and Ovando, I'm freezing up a little bit. Do you have a way of seeing who's raised their hands and who's first on that list?
Yes, Cole, raise the hand.
Yes.
Cole Taylor?
Hi, Paul.
My buddy Cole Taylor?
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. I haven't worn a tie in well over 350 days, so you're doing better than me. This has got to be, I feel like this must be a stupid question because it can't possibly be this simple, but maybe someone can explain how this works. You said at the very beginning, Paul, about the utilization rate for Section 8 vouchers. The goal is to get it to reach, I think, 84%.
Yes.
Why can't you just start pulling people off the wait list and giving them vouchers to get up to 100%? What am I missing?
Well, part of that, so that's very complicated, and we're getting pretty deep here, but I'm happy to answer it to the best of my ability. The first thing is that 100% utilization is not really even, well, I don't know that that's ever been achieved anywhere across the country. I think the benchmark or the goal is to get it close to 10% to 90%. And the reason is that a certain percentage of that is set aside for the overhead and the administration of those vouchers. So, we have a huge staff to support those vouchers, both people coming onto the program, doing the recertifications, any potential hearings, the inspectors. That's by far our biggest department in the agency is the Housing Choice Voucher Program 1, and so that there is a cost to that, and even HUD acknowledges that, and Congress acknowledges that there's a cost to that, and so a percentage of that 100% goes towards that administration. The second issue is that if we were to pull everybody on our wait list and put a voucher in their hand, we have such a tight market for 1 and 2 bedroom units that the people who are currently searching are already having a tough enough time finding a unit. And you would see people, which happens occasionally as it is, turn in a voucher in frustration that they're unable to find a unit. If there were a different environment where you had a much greater acceptance rate of our vouchers with landlords, you had many more available 1 and 2 bedroom units, different conditions where it made it more appealing to landlords to accept our vouchers because the standard market conditions were a little different, then we could inch that forward. What I would tell you is that we took a snapshot in time recently, and our voucher utilization rate was significantly higher than 84%. But over the past couple of years, it's operated lower or closer to 84%. So we are trying to get it up above. We're trying to get it to, in the long term, 90%, which is a benchmark that is recognized as a good benchmark. And to address your question around why don't we, what would happen if we just sort of started bringing people in off the wait list, in addition to being difficult because we don't have the staff necessarily to process that many additional vouchers, it would create a real crush in the market for people looking for units.
Right.
Did I answer your question?
It does. Thank you. That made a lot of sense.
Thanks, Cole. Who's next, Vince?
Well, actually, I think Avondo's driving the waiting room.
Oh, okay.
I'm right here. Tawan, raise his hand.
Yes. Hello.
Hello, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. My question is, I heard during the meeting that there's going to be some type of allowance for the elderly and disabled to be able to earn some income without having their voucher jeopardized. So is there going to be like some type of I guess, like, is it going to be a limit, what that limit is, or, you know, how can someone get a hold of that information to see, I guess, what kind of extra income they may be able to earn?
Sure, yes. That's actually an existing program now, and I don't know if Tracy's on the line, Tracy Jones is on the line, she can probably give you that number off the top of her head. Otherwise, we've got Vince here too, but is Tracy, are you available?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Hello?
I hear you.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, hi. So the earned income disregard is for any of our disabled or elderly households who are on a fixed income. So this program is designed to allow those families, that population of our families, to work, and we exclude all of their earned income, and there's no limit. So, I mean, they're not making 100,000, but we do not put a limit to the amount of income they can earn through this program. So anything is providing that they're on a fixed income, so that's Social Security, SSI, VA, those fixed income, and they're elderly or disabled, we will exclude their income. Now, families who are on SSI, there is that percentage that they must maintain that they cannot exceed based on the amount of income they're receiving through SSI. But from an Atlanta housing standpoint, we do not set a limit to the amount of income a family can earn.
Okay, that's great. I never knew that, but thank you for answering that, clearing that up for me.
Thank you. And yeah, as we mentioned before, the rationale behind that is we don't want to penalize people for going out and earning a little extra income and improving their situation.
Exactly.
Vanda, who's next?
Sorry, say it again, Paul?
Do we have anyone else?
Nobody else have their hand raised at this time.
Okay, is there anybody on the phone line? Do we have a way to get people on the phone line to express interest in sharing?
I think Deneen Jackson has her hand up in the video.
Okay, Ms. Jackson, can you, or Mr. Jackson, I can't see who it is, but if you're—
You need to take your phone off, off mute. Unmute yourself.
Press *6, please, or unmute on
the computer.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to elaborate a little further on. I'm trying to understand. I understood what you were saying about not being able to just take everybody who was on the waiting list. How is it that AHA can accommodate by porting and absorbing, but not picking from what's been here waiting? Basically, the people who have been on the waiting list for long periods of time here in Atlanta, but for any state, I mean, you all will absorb and port, but not pull from your waiting list. That makes that feasible for people who are pouring in, or you all are absorbing, opposed to people who've been here in Atlanta on the waiting list for years.
So first off, let me say, thank you again for coming tonight and listening to us and for offering this question. I know that the wait list is extremely frustrating when you're in a situation where this assistance is very important to you, and it can feel like it takes a long time to come off the wait list. I'm going to let Tracy Jones answer this in more detail, but one of the issues is quite simply that when you're absorbing, it's a person that's already in a unit, so they're not competing against the people who have just been issued a voucher. They're not competing with those families for a vacant unit, and so it doesn't create that same pressure. And two, on the administrative side, there's not that process, at least for at least until the recertification comes in, of bringing them on board on the program and doing the program eligibility validation. So I'll let Tracy Jones speak to that a little bit more, but there are some important differences there between an absorption, which there aren't a lot. I would caution that the number of absorptions is not exactly particularly high, and we can get that number for you fairly shortly, but it's not as high as it may be assumed. So Tracy?
Yes. Hi, Ms. Jackson. To address your question, on the port side, we port in and absorb about 120 families on an annual basis. That's about 10 families a month. In comparison to the number of families that we pull from the waiting list. So normally in the last 3 years, we have housed over 1,200 families from our waiting list. The waiting list, when we pull families, we pull 800 families at a time. We have increased that number. I'm not sure if you're aware, but we also implemented, when we opened our waiting list in 2017, a residency preference, which means families living within the city of Atlanta, working in the city of Atlanta, or have been offered a job in the city of Atlanta get priority. They get preference to anybody else who applies outside of the city of Atlanta. We pull anywhere between 400 to 800 families a month, and we process those families. The challenge we find with trying to house families from within the city are they don't meet the residency preference. So when they applied on our waiting list in 2017, they may have met that requirement or stated that they met the requirement. But our goal is to house anywhere between 1,100 families. Our biggest number thus far has been 1,500. So we don't tell that number often, but to house 1,500 families means we're housing about 300 families a month. And then when we absorb our families, those families are coming in from other jurisdictions who are already on the program, who are already subsidized and in another jurisdiction. We just bring them on and we absorb them onto our program. So they already had subsidy, and we call that continuous subsidy or continuous eligibility. So they're not skipping anyone on the waiting list because they already had a voucher. They just have the opportunity to come within the city of Atlanta jurisdiction and search for a unit here in the city of Atlanta. And so I want to make sure I addressed your question. So absorbing is those families coming in, and those families porting out, we give them the same opportunity. If they want to leave the city, they can take that voucher and go anywhere where there's a housing choice voucher in the country, including Puerto Rico, Guam, the Virgin Islands. But we do push those numbers through. We pull 400 to 800 families. This year with the pandemic, of course, it slowed down the process as it would with most face-to-face having to go out and search for a unit program. But we are designed to house anywhere from 1,100 to 1,500 families a year. And as a matter of fact, we had a goal to house 2,000 families this fiscal year, but we were clearly impacted by the effects of the coronavirus and the pandemic. So our numbers have definitely slowed. Did that answer your question?
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. It was just something that I always thought about. You know, you go to different states, they have people who've been on waiting lists for long periods of time, but yet, you know, that state would absorb or would port. You know what I'm saying? So you breaking it down, explaining it to me that some people want to leave the jurisdiction or the state or wherever, they're already in the system. And when you broke down administration and all this, that, and the other, understood, because these people are already vouch holders. They're just taking it someplace else. So the complexity and the time put into paperwork and approval and all this, that, and the other is not needed for somebody who's already in the system, whether or not they're coming from another state. Okay, understood.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
I have a question,
I have
Ms.
a
Jones.
question.
Okay.
Sorry.
No. I had a question too.
No, please. Could you please just identify yourself quickly, and we'll take these in turn. Everybody can have an opportunity. Ms. Little?
Did you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, I can hear you.
Okay, I had a question about working. I'm a senior, I receive Social Security disability, and I just had a follow-up question about working, and you saying something about you guys don't penalize us if we go to work. Can you kind of break that down? Does that mean I can go to work and my rent won't be increased, or?
Yes, ma'am. That's exactly what the general concept is. Tracy, you want to take this one again?
I will. Yes, if you're disabled or you're 62 or older, and you're on a fixed income. So I heard you say you receive Social Security.
Right.
If you receive Social Security, SSI, VA benefits, you are allowed to go to work. You can absolutely go to work. The income that you receive from employment, we will exclude it from the calculation of your rent. So the money that you earn is not included in the calculation when we're determining how much you should be paying towards rent. So we call it the earned income disregard, because we disregard any of that income that is earned, provided that you meet the program requirements for being elderly or disabled.
Okay, and this is a follow-up. I'm trying to get into the home ownership program. How will that, because I think you have to make a certain amount of money. So if I did go to work and I'm trying to get into the home ownership program, the money that I make, will they calculate that saying that, okay, she has enough income to pay her mortgage? How does that work if you don't calculate?
Yes. We have somebody who can get into that in more detail, Ms. Little, but the short answer is that income does count for the purposes of a mortgage or applying for a loan. It just means that from our standpoint at Atlanta Housing, it doesn't hurt you in terms of increasing your rent. But from a mortgage issuance standpoint, a lot of that part of it is with the bank and their income guidelines. But any income that you're earning from a bank should be recognized towards supporting potential mortgage payments. It just means that we at Atlanta Housing understand that you're making the income, but we're not having it count against your eligibility or increasing your rent.
You guys don't see me, do you?
No, ma'am.
Good. Okay, thank you. All right, thanks a lot.
Somebody else was trying to speak.
Question.
Yes.
It was Miss Epps, but I'm okay. They're asking a lot of questions. Thank you.
Ms. Epps, why don't you go? You were next.
No, she actually went on ahead and answered. I just want to say thank you as being a participant on the program, and you guys having these multiple options. And I've paid attention to a lot of you guys' work, and I want to just thank the team and everybody for their hard work and looking out for people who are less fortunate, for opening the doors. I've witnessed families that were homeless and y'all pulled them out of the shelter before the pandemic. I've witnessed so many encounters of you guys stepping above and beyond your measures to help families, during the times of need. So I just want to say thank you as a participant.
Well, Ms. Epps, thank you for that acknowledgement. I think I can speak for many on this of the people on this team that I've spoken to, that it's really a privilege to be able to provide those opportunities. People work very hard for it to provide those, and it's very gratifying to hear that acknowledgement. But that's what we're here for. So thank you for sharing.
No problem. Stay safe.
Mr. Huff?
Question, please.
Yes, who's speaking?
My name is William Rogers.
Mr. Rogers, go ahead.
I really do appreciate you guys' help and y'all looking out for us participants, and I really do appreciate it. But a question that I had to ask you was, I'm with AHA Housing Choice Voucher, and
sure.
I have put in for a transfer to move to another place, and the office called me today and said that you guys did not pay the rent. So what do I have to do about that now?
I'll get that
Hello?
one, Paul. Mr. Rogers, if you would, hello?
Hello?
If I can have your first, can you hear me? Mr.
Yes, I can hear
Rogers?
you. Mm-hmm.
Okay, if you can give me your first name, I will look it up and reach out to you, separate from this phone, from the Zoom meeting. We'll reach back out to see what's going on. If I can have your first name.
William.
Or you can send it, William Rogers. Okay, I have.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Mr. Rogers, we'll look that up and get in touch with you, okay? And see what's happening.
Okay. And just like I said, I really do appreciate you guys. I've been with you guys now for about 8 years, and I really enjoyed, and everything has been working out real beautiful. And you guys keep up the good work, cause you're really reaching out to a lot of people, and a lot of people that need your help, just like I did. And I really appreciate everything that you guys did, that you're gonna do, and that you're doing.
Thank you for participating, Mr. Rogers. We appreciate your input, and we're grateful for the opportunity to serve. Anyone else?
You got Mia with her hand raised.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, Mia.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm looking to eventually become an homeowner, and I know you mentioned something about a down payment assistance program, and I just wanted to know, like, the qualifications, or is there a way I could get more information on that? Is it gonna start only in 2022?
The short answer is we are definitely can get you the full qualifications and more information on that. Mia, if you're on Zoom, and since you raised your hand, if you can send a quick chat to myself or anyone really with appropriate contact information, we can get you more information on that. And the short answer is that's not something that you have to wait until 2022 for. That's something that is available and right now. And again, we can go through what the specific qualifications for it are, but no, there's no wait for that, at least in terms of when we're accepting applications for it.
Okay, I'll send you my contact information.
Thank you.
And Paul, just for clarification purposes, I think she's also thinking about the CNDPA program, which starts in 2022.
Oh, that's a good point. Okay. We'll send information on both programs.
Right.
Okay.
And there may be a wait on the Choice Neighborhood DPA. Yes.
Correct. Right. I think it's Tawan.
Yes, Tawan.
Tawan. Okay.
I have a question. With the rising costs and like everything in Atlanta, as far as housing and utilities and everything, is there any talk or discussion about people who receive utility allowance, maybe an increase? Because it just seems to me like the utilities in Atlanta are just going higher and higher, but the utility allowance seems to be at this, the same rate. And I mean, is there any discussion about maybe possibly adjusting that? because everything in Atlanta just seems to be going higher and higher. And, you know, for low-income families, especially people on fixed incomes, it's just becoming, you know, a burden, especially with COVID-19. So,
It's a great question. You're certainly right about the rising cost of everything, and we recognize that utilities are a huge piece of that affordability puzzle, and that even if we provide a certain amount of subsidy to make housing affordable, other expenses that are now essential expenses for families will make that housing less affordable if they increase. And so we're looking at a couple of different things. We touched on it a little earlier. We're looking at how we might be able to try to help with internet, high-speed internet. And then on the simple utility, the simple monthly utility calculation, we are undergoing a reformulation where it's at the point where we are considering that. And we're also looking at how we can provide both to our HCV landlords and to our multifamily landlords incentives for them to perform energy efficiency improvements that would not cost our participants anything, but would ultimately lower your monthly bills as these energy efficiency improvements are installed. So we are about to recalculate our utility allowance schedule. I don't know exactly what that's going to look at. We've just started evaluating that process, but we do acknowledge that there is a very high, what we call a utility burden or energy burden for our participants, and we're trying to use the flexibilities that we have with HUD to help you address those.
Okay, and you mentioned about the internet service. So what plans in place, or what type of things is being done about, you know, providing internet? Because, you know, people who have children with COVID-19, they need the internet. And, you know, I know, like, I had to spend more money to get more high-speed internet because the internet, the regular package wasn't even, you know, giving the kids sufficient internet for online school. So
one thing we need to do first is get HUD approval on any proposals we're advancing in order to allow for this. There are certain sources of funding for internet in particular under CARES Act that we can help you identify. And then just today, there was a proposal from the FCC to subsidize, to provide $50 a month to low-income families for internet. And so I think there are going to be a variety of sources and tools, and we're evaluating this. Unfortunately, it's not something that we can provide today or even provide exactly the details for how it's going to be rolled out. There may be opportunities with the CARES Act to provide that sooner. But if you can please, I see that you're on Zoom on a computer. If you're able to shoot your contact information to myself or Vincent Taylor in the chat window, we can connect you to somebody who can give you some more detail on that.
All right. Is Tamika Ward still on the line?
Yes, sir. I'm still here.
Okay, Tamika, you had your hand up earlier.
Yes. Hello, everyone. I have a question. My question is, like, what is the difference between the down payment program, which is, I mean, like the amount which was, you know, for if you were to go look for a house, it would be $250,000 to, you know, that Atlanta Housing would give you. But when I went back, like probably 2 years later, it was $275,000. So I'm trying to see what would be the comparison for the 2022 compared to what is, I mean, what is going on right now? Because it's like, it was one day, I went to the website, it was 250,000 if I wanted to, get the house, the payment towards, and now is like 275,000. So I'm kind of confused.
So I think we do have somebody on the phone who is very involved in the down payment assistance, but I just want to make sure we're answering your question correctly. Is the question related to the fact that the purchase price or the sales price of the home has increased? Or are you asking about the specific amount that we offer for down payment assistance?
The sale price and the down payment.
Okay, I see. So maybe the sales price of the home increased, but the down payment assistance amount has stayed the same. Is that fair to say?
So Paul, I think what she's asking is maximum amount we in terms of sales price. And at one time, we've increased to 275. In recognition that the house of houses have increased.
Excuse me, Mike. Hey, Vado, can you mute everyone? There's a lot of background.
Okay, I am right now.
Hey, I need to see my key behind. Look down there, cause I still got to fucking open up my door. Damn.
Okay, Mike, if you want to unmute yourself and finish or restart that answer, I apologize.
Hey, no problem. What I was saying is, I think what she's asking about is there's a maximum amount of purchase price that you can have for a house and receive assistance from us. And so at one time it was $250,000. We recognize that the cost of houses have increased and are continuing to increase. So now we'll allow someone that's purchasing a $275,000 house to qualify. It's not that we're requiring you to buy a $275,000 house. Ideally, you'd like it to be less, but we're allowing people who are buying a little more expensive house now to still qualify for our program. In terms of the amount we provide for down payment assistance, is typically we provide $20,000 to most people. And I think I mentioned when I talked about this, we'll go up to $25,000 if it's someone that's coming out of basically our system, someone who is already receiving Section 8 or lived in public housing. If you're ex-military, if you're an educational worker, teacher, for example, if you're a healthcare worker, and I think those are the different categories. In those cases, we'll go up to $25,000. And I hear what you're saying about as houses go up, we probably should be looking at providing a little more down payment assistance. And that's something we can consider, but just at the moment, we're not ready to make that decision.
I wanted to make a suggestion, if it's okay. This is Ms. Epps. Can I have permission to speak?
Ms. Epps, there are a few other people ahead. Are you making a suggestion on this topic?
Yes, and it was on the last topic. I can write them down and wait. But it was just like some other solution to their concerns. As a participant being on the program, I was having that same issue. I'll address the first one that was with the gentleman. There are schools that's giving, laptops, and they're giving hotspots to people that are in APS, and they're also giving you an internet essentials, which is $9.99 a month, which is affordable internet for you. And then to the second question, I was going to say that once you apply for those programs through housing, which assistance for money, there's other programs that you can apply for as well. So, the options are very open to getting other assistance. Just don't rely on AHA for everything. They're a bit of a supportive system, but don't use them as a receiving blanket or as a crutch. You can communicate with your support workers, that with the team of field that you guys have, and they'll help you find other ways of getting money to get your housing, or getting your closing costs in, So I just wanted to just say that on behalf of you all. That's why I say I'm so thankful for you guys, because I've worked with you and I know that they can do it. So don't get discouraged. Just communicate with the right people, and that's your AHA workers, and they'll find ways. And I just wanted to say that,
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Epps. Shalonda, Kiana, and then Ann, A-N. So Shalonda.
Yes, yes, I am also a participant, and I came in late, but to one of the questions, one of the other participants was asking about a program that obviously probably was mentioned earlier when I wasn't around, about another program that has something to do with home ownership that was started in 2022, and I wanted to see how can I receive that information for one, and the other one is about the home ownership program that is currently already around, about the down assistance payment. I think I was hearing the young man from Atlanta Housing saying that they would assist with $25,000 down, or I heard it wrong.
Up to. Shalonda, if you can send us your information, we can get you that information. If you send us your email address, we can send that out to you. Just very quickly, the first program that you alluded to is 2022. That's a new program. It's still under design, and it would be specific to the University Choice Neighborhood, the Choice Neighborhood footprint. And then the second program, which is our down payment assistance, is citywide, and that's up to $25,000 of down payment assistance. You would have to qualify, go through I believe it's the home ownership program, Mike. It's an education program that you have to complete and meet some eligibility criteria. But we can get you that information. Go ahead, Mike.
I just said you have to go through some home buyer counseling to be able to qualify. And that's just to make sure you can be a successful homeowner once you actually purchase the house. One thing I wanted to add though, although we provide $20,000 or $25,000, we're not the only people in Atlanta that do that. And so it's possible to get down payment assistance from some other sources and combine them. So for example, Invest Atlanta offers that as well as some other agencies. So if you contact us, we can help you steer you in the right direction in terms of both what we do and then some other sources that may be available to you.
Right. Ernestine, did you want to make any comments on the Choice Neighborhood part of it yet?
Yeah,
I mean, not yet, but in addition.
I think you captured it. It's a program that's still being structured. It won't be offered until early 2022. We can get your information when you put it in the chat and keep you apprised as that program rolls out.
Okay, I was trying to see how can I send a chat, go into the chat box. I kept playing with the phone and I couldn't find a way where I can put my information in the chat box. I'm on a cell phone.
Vincent, as you remember, at this time, we don't have the chat open on this particular Zoom, Vincent.
Okay. Shalonda, can you
pull up that last slide?
Yeah, let me hang on a second. Yeah.
Okay.
You don't have to screenshot it.
Right. Let's see, very quickly. You see the slide now? If you could send an email to strategy.
Vince, you're on the first. Oh, there you go.
Okay, I think I've seen that. It's strategy.
Strategy at atlantahousing.org.
Okay, I do see it on one of your emails that you all sent to my personal email, strategy at atlantahousing.org.
That's correct.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, that's
and
fine.
anyone
Thank
else.
So, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Shalonda. And I was just going to say, and anyone else that was looking to send us information, if you weren't able to send it by the chat, or if you don't have the email address, if you would send it to that, we'll route it to the correct person.
All right, thank you.
Thank you,
You're
Ms.
welcome.
Shalanda.
You're welcome. Anytime.
Is Kiana still available? Is Kiana still on the line?
Hi, yes, this is Kiana. Basically, I just had the same question that the other lady just asked about, and so I was trying to screenshot it as well.
Okay. Is it still up there? Do you see it now?
Yes, I see it. It's kind of like over a little bit.
Is it? Oh, what happened? Is it the reverse?
No, it's
Hang on a
actually
minute.
up there.
Yeah.
Just expand out on your screen, touch your screen and expand it out and then screenshot it. Hopefully that'll help. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm just a geek when it comes down to these things.
That's okay.
I got it now. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I
There was
sent the email
Go
out
ahead.
to this. I sent a message to that email.
Yes.
Okay.
Asking for the down payment assistance information.
Okay.
Who's next, Ben?
Ann, she had her name is A-N.
Yes, Mr. Taylor. Maya, Shalonda, basically they asked all of the questions that I was about to ask. So
Popular topic, huh?
yes, sir. Absolutely.
Okay. Did you need the information as well?
Yes, sir. I have it.
Go ahead, Paul. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to ask her the same thing, whether she needed that information again.
Okay.
Okay, Vincent and Elvira, do we have anybody else?
China Harris. We have about 15 minutes before we'll probably be cut off by Zoom.
Okay.
Ms. Harris?
Actually, it's Shamira Hall. I don't know why my name popping up China Harris.
Oh, okay, Ms. Hall.
Sorry about that. I don't know why. My question was, do you guys work with NACA?
Oh, this is probably yes, ma'am. We hear you. This is probably a Mike Wilson question.
Oh, okay. Because I was speaking with.
Yes.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
The answer to that is yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you guys did or not. Because I was just like recently talking to one, and it was like, you might have to reach out to Atlanta Housing, and I'm like, okay, well, I'll ask and just see from there. But I just didn't know the qualifications on what you would need to go about it.
I think the best thing to do is send an email to that address, and then I'll get someone to respond to you on that.
Okay, well,
Ms.
thank
Hall,
you so much.
do you have do you have that email address?
Yeah, it is strategy@atlantahousing.org.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, my name is not China Harris. I don't, like I said, I don't know why it keep popping up China Harris. It's Shamira Hall. So sorry about that.
That's okay, Ms. Hall. We'll take care of it.
All right. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Xavier Simmons had his hand up in the video.
Yes. How you all doing?
Great. How are you?
I want to keep myself from have to go through the same thing Mr. Rogers went through. I'm looking to transfer my voucher, and so I was told that I had to be moving out on April the 1st, but I moved in on May the 30th. So I'm trying to find out exactly what I need to do. So I won't have to face the problems that Mr. Rogers faced.
Okay, Mr. Simmons, is this your name that we would have on file for you?
It is, yes.
Okay. Tracy, do you have that info?
I do. Mr. Simmons will reach out to you tomorrow.
All right, thank you.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
Mr. Simmons.
Jennifer Andrews.
Yes, I just recently had a baby. My baby's 4 months now. So how soon do y'all expect mothers to go back to work after having a baby and having a hard time with childcare and everything like that?
Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm sorry. Paul?
No, I think this is a Tracy Jones question. I'm a
Yes.
recently new parent myself, so congratulations, and
Congratulations
also
to you.
I know what a hard, difficult time you must be going through at the same time.
Ms. Ed, congratulations.
Thank you.
Are you on the Housing Choice Voucher Program?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll reach out to you. I'll have our director reach out and explain the process. There's timelines basically contingent on what your doctor provides, but we'll reach out. We do have programs in place for hardship and things like that. So we'll reach out to you tomorrow. I have your name, and someone from my office will give you a call.
Okay.
Ann.
Hello.
A.N.
Yes, okay,
Yeah.
this is a question. Question is, a relative of mine is also a participant of Atlanta Housing Authority. And the question that the older gentleman asked earlier about receiving supplemental income as well as not being penalized or your rent won't increase, is this something that she would have to contact her case manager or her housing, I guess, what is it, your housing advisor about?
I believe so. Isn't that right, Tracy? Because
Yes,
because if I'm, Alexandria.
Yes, you would just have to reach out to your case manager, and they'll walk you through the process.
It's Alexander Mark.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Jones.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Miss Alexandria?
Yeah, that's my granddaughter, but my name is Viola Adams.
Oh, okay, Miss Adams.
Because she do Zoom, she do a school on this computer. And what I want to do is give you guys a comment. About I was looking for a place. I'm raising 4 of my grandkids, and I was looking for a place, and I had a hard time finding a place. And my voucher was like almost 3 weeks. They kept on giving me an extension, and they couldn't give me no more extension. But I want to comment on you guys because everybody at the Housing Authority, they stuck together and they found me a place the day before my voucher got expired. They said, Miss Adams, don't worry about it. We got you. And I want to say I appreciate all of you, every last one of you, because every time I come, you were so affectionate and you didn't have a bad attitude or nothing. But you helped me and my grandkids. I sure do appreciate you. I keep you guys in my prayers because you know what? You can't find people that treat you right and knowing you down. But you guys, I'm telling you, you stepped up to the plate. You stepped up to the plate. That's why y'all on my prayer list, and I want to say I appreciate you, and I'm gonna keep on praying for y'all, and all of y'all be safe because y'all step up to the plate for me and my grandkids. And y'all didn't have to. Everybody I talked to, one guy on the phone with the other person, even Mr. Silver. I mean, I am so thankful for you, so thankful for you. That's what I wanted to say. Amen.
Man.
Thank you.
Amen. Thank you so much for sharing. I think that's really a testament to Ms. Jones, Tracy Jones, and her team. They're very passionate about helping and take their job very seriously. So I'm glad it worked out for you. But we really do appreciate your sharing and your feedback for us.
You're welcome.
All right, everyone. We have about 10 minutes left. Ms. Henderson and then Ms. Parks or Mr. Parks.
Good evening. I think she kind of started out on the question that I was actually about to ask about. Yes, we do find challenges when it comes to finding appropriate places that would accept our vouchers. And of course, you know, we have family changes, family size changes and things like that. Do you see anywhere in the future where this opportunity may change, or we have more landlords are open up to accept our vouchers in the near future?
The short answer is we're doing everything we can. We have seen, and Tracy can maybe speak to this in more detail, we've seen with what's happened over the past year, more interest from landlords in opening up and accepting our voucher. We know that this is the biggest challenge. We've tried to increase rents in particular neighborhoods to make it more attractive. We've tried to make being on the program as easy as possible, whether through onboarding digitally, decreasing the amount of time where a unit is vacant, getting people into those units as quickly as possible. It helps the landlord, it helps our participants, paying referral fees, paying bonuses, helping with security deposits. There are certain things that we can and can't do with these flexibilities under what HUD allows, and we are open to suggestions. We're doing everything we can, and there are some things that are outside of our control. The good news is that the landlords who are coming onto our program have been, I think, very satisfied with their experience on the program, and the landlords who come on and try it once are opening up more units to us and to our families for that reason. Tracy, what are your thoughts on that?
Yes, I will add to that. We are definitely adding more and more landlords onto the program, and more high-end landlords. We are able to negotiate the rents with them, so it opens up more available units to our families on our program and those families who are coming onto the program. We understand that the city of Atlanta is a pretty compressed market, but we have 3 assets on our team. They're called housing counselors. And when you came onto the program, or if you're looking to move, we assign you a personal housing counselor. And that individual, we have 3, and they are signed by your last names, and they have all the arsenals to help you find a unit. So they know how to utilize the incentives that we have in place. They create relationships with our landlords, and they are the conduit to get you from searching to house. So if you're experiencing any challenges with finding a unit, please reach out to your housing counselor. And if you're not sure who they are, you can send us your information in through the email, and we will give you the name of your personal housing counselor so that you can work with him or her in conjunction with finding you a unit. And we usually get those families housed working with our housing counselors at least 4 weeks sooner than they would without the use of those housing counselors, and they utilize all our incentives to get you housed.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Henderson.
Okay, we have 5 minutes left. Casey Parks will be the last question of the night. Casey?
Ms. Parks, you're on mute.
Sorry. Actually, that's my daughter's name. I'm Shanika. Casey's my daughter. So my
okay.
Because I'm using her Chromebook like the other parent who chimed in. My question is, and I guess this would be, I don't know who I need to talk to. So my unit recently failed twice for what is it called? The unit failed because of I have a busted pipe. So it's a lot of maintenance issues that's not my fault, it's the landlord's fault. So I know eventually down the line here, I'm going to have to move. So who do I need to contact in reference to this? I've already spoken with the inspector. Okay, so who else do I need to contact? Because
which program are you on, Ms. Parks? Are you on Housing Choice?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have that email address that we've that we published earlier?
Is it the strategies at housingauthority.org? That's the one you're talking about?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I have it.
If you shoot an email to that, we will forward it to the appropriate team member and address that. That sounds like an issue that is something that we can address for you.
Okay, great. Let me do that now. Immediately.
Hey, Paul, before you wrap up, I wanted to mention something. Since there have been a lot of questions on homeownership and our down payment assistance program, we're going to go ahead and set up an information session probably in March where people can come and they can get more information and ask any questions that they have. So if you're interested in that, please send your information to that email address we've been talking about, and we'll make sure you're invited.
Thank you.
Terry, does Paul, I don't know if Terry had anything, if she's still there, if she had any closing remarks. Ms. Hall, we're about to wrap up. I know it's not China Harris, it's Ms. Hall. Do you have time for one more, Paul, or I think we're about to wrap up though.
It's a quick, real quick.
Sure, go ahead.
Really quick. Do you guys accept Atlanta housing over there by East Lake? That's it. That's just really kind of, cause I tried to go over there the first time, and they say they do, but then they don't. Then they say you got to talk to Atlanta housing. But when I seen the list, it had East Lake on there. So do you guys accept them or not?
I think you're referring to whether or not they accept vouchers in that area.
Yes, that's exactly
it. Tracy?
The East Lake community is within the city of Atlanta, and we do, you can use your vouchers in that area, yes.
Okay, because I just thinking that they're saying one thing and they're saying another, and they was like, well, if we accept it, you need to go to them and talk to them, and they need to put it on their list, and they need to reach out to us. So it's kind of like a miscommunication over there with them, and they seem to don't know.
Okay, I have your name, and I'll take your information and get in touch with you tomorrow to get the details, okay?
All right, thank you.
And now I'd like to turn it over to our Chief Operating Officer, Terry Lee, to close us out with some thoughts. I'm absolutely thrilled that we've had this much participation this year. We're definitely going to repeat this next year. It's been really great to get the opportunity to talk with y'all and answer questions you have. Terry, do you have any closing thoughts for us?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Paul. First and foremost, I really would just like to echo Paul's sentiments. Thank you so much for just taking time to share with us this evening. We have literally been here for 2 hours, and it has been a well-spent 2 hours because everything that we do at Atlanta Housing is quite honestly is for you, and it's to uplift the services we provide and to make sure that we're providing the proper resources to our residents. So I sincerely appreciate the time that each of you took to share with us. I ask that next year that you bring somebody with you. Hopefully we'll be doing it in person, but if we're doing it virtually, please bring more of the participants and your neighbors or your friends with you, because we need to hear from you. We need to hear your questions, we need to hear your thoughts, and more importantly, we need to know exactly what services are best provided to help benefit you, but also to uplift you as we continue in administering our programs. A special thanks and shout out to the entire Atlanta Housing team. I sincerely appreciate the work that you do, not just tonight, but on a daily basis to make sure that we are providing not just affordable housing, but quite honestly, resources to our residents to help make sure our residents have a sustainable way of life. And again, just another recognition to our CEO, Eugene Jones. Every day, each of you should know that Eugene forces us and makes sure it's top of our mind, what can we do to help our residents have a better way of life? So again, thank you. Really appreciate the time each of you took to be with us tonight, and I look forward to the homeownership seminar in March. There were a lot of great questions about homeownership, and the more we can get information out to our residents, our participants about transition to homeownership, the better. And so I look forward to that and look forward to sharing with you again. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Be well. Good
Thanks,
night.
everybody. Be safe.
Everyone, exactly. Thank you.
Be safe.
Thank you.